Hi, this is Frank Carey. I'm the CTO at Fable Studio. We've been working on some really interesting things around Thistle Gulch, an NPC simulation tool based around a small western town in the 1800s. Thistle Gulch allows these AI characters to plan, make decisions, and have conversations with each other within the simulation. Just one of the cool things about Thistle Gulch is that you can bring your own model. With Anthropic releasing their latest Claude3 series of models, I figured we'd take a look at those models within Thistle Gulch and see how they perform. We can experiment with Claude3 using the Thistle Gulch demo. We have a dedicated section for custom models here. So when we run the demos, you're going to get a description of the demo, some details. We also highlight the API calls that are involved. Another thing about Thistle Gulch is that it comes with a Python API, and all we're doing here in the demo is just leveraging that API. So there's nothing in these demos that you couldn't do yourself. This brings up the option of models. Claude3 comes in 3 flavors, a small, medium, and large. Haiku being the smallest, fastest, cheapest, and Opus being the largest, GPT-4 competitor. We'll try each of them and talk about the pros and cons. It takes a couple seconds for the runtime. What we're seeing here is the bridge. Now the bridge talks to the runtime. It's the Python side of things, while the bridge is the exe or DMG that you can download. You tell the bridge where the runtime is and it'll automatically start it for you. All right, we're starting up. And right off the bat, we're calculating behavior here for Blackjack Kane, who's our saloon owner. We can see one of the great things about Haiku is that it generates very quickly, probably faster than GPT 3.5. It generated 4 options that we can see on the left-hand side. The way this works is called Saga, skill to action generation for agents. And it's essentially tool use, but what happens is multiple options are generated based on the different skills it has. Skills like reflect, converse with, go to, and those are parameterized and sent back to the client. The first option, this default action, and the last one, reflect, scored the highest, while the third one here, converse with, scored the lowest. We can select here on the left those options. This is optional. You can have it automatically select the first highest scoring option. But here, let's idle for 5 minutes, and we'll jump in and take a look at Blackjack himself. So this is our Blackjack character. You can look at Blackjack in more detail by clicking and focusing on him and bringing up his details. So within his character details, it has all of his backstory and things that are fed to the large language model, and also his history. So this conversation with himself, we can actually pull that up and look at his past conversation with himself that he just generated. Right now, we're locked onto his character because we clicked one of these options. You can go to other characters around the scene. If we go back to Blackjack and zoom in, let's go up to his bedroom here. Strategize our next move. So what's helpful about this panel on the left is you can actually see the history. So that conversation that Blackjack had with himself is visible through here. Each time that he decided to do something, it gives you some perspective and history on that. You also have the character details, which is his summary of who he is, basically what his description is, and also his backstory. Again, these are all things that you can edit now in Thistle Gulch API. We said that we were going to go up to our bedroom and reflect on recent events, and then that was the next one it chose, so that's a good result. So let's look here at what it actually generated from the LLM side. So the first one, it said play poker, then wait was an option, reflect, and go to. So reflect was the third option it generated, but it gave it the highest score here. So because it gave us the highest score, these are all in score order. So that would have been the default if you didn't have this UI option turned on where you can actually pick the one you want. So let's go ahead and reflect on his plans here. And I'm going to close this or minimize his details. So what this also demonstrates here is not only Thistle Gulch action generation, but conversation as well. Conversation is also going through, and you can see that here on the right-hand side. This is the conversation Jack had with himself. And then this is a conversation that one of the other characters is having. So already we could see one of the downsides, perhaps, of the smaller model. It's very fast. It's definitely the cheapest model. But at the same time, it can be a little repetitive. So it's not necessarily reacting appropriately to the guidance we give it of not repeating actions. And then when I'm ready to wrap up, I can just cancel out of the bridge, which will automatically close the runtime, and we can start again here. I'll run the Anthropic demo, and here we're going to choose Sonnet. It's more powerful, a little more expensive, and a little slower to run. So let's try that one. As soon as I start the demo, Thistle Gulch The runtime starts up on its own using the bridge automatically launches it. And then they start communicating. So immediately we can see that the options are coming in pretty fast. This is probably around what 3.5 does. So this time our top option is to coordinate our plans with our trusted ally, Sally McCarty. Sally McCarty is Blackjack Kane's right-hand woman and a long-standing member of his gang. And then again, our conversation is being generated by the same model. It generates a lot slower than it would otherwise. We're not necessarily repeating ourselves as much as we were before. We're not seeing another conversation with Sally. We're getting another one that said converse with Jim or to go play poker and go about business as usual. Let's go ahead and talk to Razor. Razor is another character who's in Kane's gang. Kane doesn't necessarily trust him yet. Weird. It talked to himself in his third person. Kane's empire depends on it. All right, so we're generating options again. Develop a plan, play poker, go to the saloon storage room and check on the stash. We didn't actually steal the goods yet, so that's not a really great option. And we can see how they got scored. So remember, the top item here is the best scoring one. The worst scoring one was the last one here, which was discreetly exchange some stolen gold for supplies. So again, it's still repeating itself a little bit. Now let's go buy something and see what happens. Fast forward here. Get over here a little more quickly. Blackjack gets in line. So each of these conversations is being generated by Claude3. Blackjack decides what to do next. So it's still pretty quick. It's not as fast as the first model, but it's still definitely very quick. But it is a little repetitive. All right, let's do the third and final model. We can see it's definitely a bit slower. All right, converse with Razor, learn if Razor can be trusted. So with the biggest opus model here, we definitely get more into the characters' backstories. The generations are have a lot more depth to them. They're not as repetitive. This is another challenge we still have with this model is like, we ask for generations in JSON, and we tell it to not generate any extra metadata, but it still generates it. What's nice about OpenAI is that they have a JSON mode that really does force the models to generate only valid JSON. We tweaked the prompts a little bit and stress the fact that it should generate just valid JSON, but we still see it coming up. By stressing it a little bit more, it did definitely improve how often it does it. We can handle that by just regenerating it. So if we can't parse it as valid JSON, we regenerate it. There's other ways to do it around healing the JSON structure and things like that. You can take advantage of the fact that we use LangChain. You can use those same techniques with Thistle Gulch. So it still feels a little repetitive. It's unclear whether it's not using sort of the memories and the guidance we have, or if us stressing the use of JSON at the end sort of distracts it from the other guidance that we gave it. So it's definitely a work in progress, but I think it's pretty effective. And it does show what your options are between the different size models, how it affects how long it takes to generate, and the quality you get. So that's using the 3 versions of Claude3 with Thistle Gulch. It's available now as a demo. You can check out our open source repo on GitHub. If you're interested in being an early beta tester, check out blog.fabledev.com and sign up for the beta. Thanks.